Okay, so right here I have the login button that I declared. I'm now instantiating it, and to find it in your XML, you're going to do find view by ID, and you're gonna give it the ID. So r.id, and then this login button is going ID is going to be in the XML right here. So for the button, right here, ID login button. And to get to this view, because there's two different views when you're viewing your XML, your layouts. This is the layout for a page, for an activity. You have the text view, which is, you could do it all by hand, and you could see that stuff right there, or you can just design it and you'll be able to drag and drop elements. And this is where the ID is in the design view, the GUI view. So that's where I got this from, right here. And then to set a on-click listener, or whenever it's clicked, it'll call this method right here. Login button that set on-click listener, on-click, and then it's going to execute whatever code is in here. This log.i, it's just so, because you can't system.out.print to debug or anything like that, you have to use log. And you have to give it a tag which is just a string, so you can filter out the messages, because there's a lot of messages in the debug window. And then go ahead and look at that, because there's a few things to that. So the login button, like I showed earlier, over here, it goes to the next page activity. To do that, you have to create a new intent equals new intent. Then right here you pass it the current class, and then you give it whichever class you want to make it navigate to. So that's home activity, which is the next activity that it goes to. And then you just start activity and then pass it the variable intent.
Is an intent just about navigation?
No, it also does other things. It does a few things. I think it also saves data for when somebody clicks the home screen, and because your app's kind of, or when you rotate it, because your app's kind of destroyed, and like you lose the data that you currently have on the screen, and you could save that, and then when you open it back up, or when it gets rotated, you just and you can retrieve that information from the intent and send it or fill in the fields again. It does a few things. You can go ahead and look into that one. And let's see, activity. Okay, so also, whenever you have text that you want to, let's see. So whenever you have text that you want to enter, just anywhere in like XML, you don't really want to enter the text by itself, because what if you want to change it later? Because then now it's no longer like a global variable. You have to go in every single page and change it. Like if you want to change login to sign in, now you have to go through every single page that you have and change it to sign in. Instead, Android has an XML file called strings.xml, which is in the res and then values and then strings.xml. You want to specify all your strings here. So you can specify, this is the name that's going to be called, the variable name, and then this is the text that's going to return. So right here I did @string, which is accesses all the strings in strings.xml, and then /login, which I gave it the text login. Buttons automatically capitalize everything, so that'll be a bit different. But see right here, it says I gave it the name login, and then the text is going to be login. So whenever you change it there, it'll change it in every single place that it's referenced. So in the home activity on this page, I declared the back button variable, the back button, and then I have the tag just for debugging purposes and logging out. And then here, like before, I created the back button, set the on-click listener, and then to go back to an activity, it's even simpler. It's just finish, and it just goes to the I think it's just the previous activity you're at. I think it just saves it throughout Android because Android has the back button, just goes to wherever you were previously. And then another thing, this onCreate, super.onCreate, this is already in here whenever you create an activity. And so super.onCreate saved instance state is this right here, and then set content view r.layout activity main. So it goes in the R for, I think it's probably res, and then to layout, and then it chooses activity main for whichever layout you want to display for that current page.
It's kind of cool how res is resources.
Resources.
So, which is kind of cool because you know what Anthony is. By the way, Anthony, you're doing a huge favor, everybody right here. But you see this right here, the login button, r.id login button. That R stands for resources, which is this folder right here. So really, all Android needs to do is just read all of these XML files really quickly, which just marshal very fast, and then they grab that login button from that. So it's this very simplistic way of grabbing hold of the IDs that you can create inside of your interface builders. And the interface builders are just stored as XML files, which is pretty elegant. You know, it's like you guys could design something like this. You know, so as you author things, like Anthony, if you go to your activity main XML, he's got a XML open, but he can see that as text or as design. So you can see that one-to-one relationship between, you know, him. That's his text. That's what he. That's what. See, he can either. He's probably not going to be writing a lot of that. There are some people who would happily write that, but most people want to go to the design piece, which is sweet right here, which makes this one of the greatest platforms ever to build for. And then that visual metaphor gets translated into the text, the XML. But what he did is, you see the login button up there, that's where he established that ID. So now he has access to that, you know, throughout his Java. You know, I think, Anthony, something that the application has its own little life cycle. So when so if you go back to main activity, I think these are the onCreate. It looks into the, you know, the bundle, the resources, you know. So there's a little bit more for you guys to learn as you go on, but the onCreate is kind of critical. That is the entry point, you know, for this thing. Now what's cool is he goes into activity main or home activity. I'm sorry. Go on into home activity. That is the first. You see, it has an onCreate as well. Super onCreate, and that's its own instantiation. Set the content view. That's the activity home that he built up. Activity home.xml. You can see that up there. So you keep going back and forth between all this, you know, as you build.
Yeah, and there's more methods, not just onCreate. onCreate is just whenever you get to that, whenever you create the page or create the activity. There's onResume, onPause, but you don't need to worry about that right now. It's later when you get more into it. Let's see. Okay, so just a little tip when you create these, just the XML here. There's two different layouts that I've seen mainly used: relative and linear. Well, relative and linear. Let's see. So linear layout and relative. So relative, it's like whenever you put an element on the page, it's on the view. It puts it exactly where it is, X and Y. So whenever you resize it, it'll still be there, that exact spot. But if you do linear layout, you can have things like this is a linear layout vertical. So it'll stack things top to bottom. So if I want to add another button here, it'll stack on the bottom. When you resize it, it'll continue to do that. And let's see. So there's also grid layout, frame layout, which I haven't really used much. But then there's also horizontal layout, which will stack them left to right. So if you wanna, so you can put a button there, and then a button next to it. let's see, and then it'll be left to right because it'll stack it, keep going left to right. And then you can, then right here, layout width, layout height, you can match parent, which will just fill everything up, or you can wrap content, so it'll be exactly how high the buttons are. And okay, let's see. That's mostly it. The code is on here. I'll post it on Slack. Yeah, I'll post it on Slack so you can look at that. And then if you do want to go ahead, there is the maps. It just basically displays the maps and some instructions for the API keys and stuff. That all those instructions so it doesn't show up in GitHub because you don't want your API key out in the public. And then that just displays, that sets a marker, changes the marker to a different image, and then you guys can mess around with that. That'll probably be even more fun. And then Cognito for sign in, login, and register will be there. That's not finished yet. Haven't had time, but it's getting there. And yeah, that is it.
Yep, you guys, I kind of encourage Anthony to take kind of a CTO role as kind of, there needs to be an advanced, a group of people who kind of run ahead and figure out problems. And then what we do, he's going to pass his code off to everybody else. And so it's like he's the Marine recon and you guys are the Army. Your job is to cover and hold territory. His job is to get it started, open things up. And solve little problems that we just need a small leap to figure out, and we push the big mass over. So his job is not really to handle the design of everything, but rather to figure out technical issues, and then for you guys to inherit his code. Does that make sense? So he's able to pull through that so quickly. I'm just really grateful for that. Now, Anthony, that's not to say that you don't get involved in a team.
Yeah.
Get your design DNA in there. And that probably you'll be looking to do that. What might work, guys, is for there to be 3 or 4 sort of technical leads. And what happens here, Anthony, maybe what you need to do is you need to train some DPs, some people who know what you know and can repeat your stuff religiously, and then you attach 3 or 4 people around them, and they become the ride, drive, park teams, so that you solve some persnickety problems, technical problems with a team of 4 people, and then they pass those solutions off to their group, and then you're just going to start. So maybe the tree needs to. You guys maybe need to pick up that tree, Christian. Those are